Hello. Watching. Good morning, everyone. We are coming to you live via streaming on Facebook, live streaming via YouTube, and to a closed group via Skype. Each one of you is welcome to this live broadcast. Mind and ego. Watching mind and ego. Life has verily two aspects. One is circumference, the other is the center. You have not yet reached the circumference. How can you reach to the center? First, you have to reach the circumference, and then you can begin your journey towards the center. The way to reach to the circumference differs from the journey from circumference to the center. Circumference exists in geometry because of the center. Without this circumference, the center is not called center, instead it is called a point. The point becomes center the moment there is a circumference around it. It is not as difficult to reach the circumference as it is the journey from circumference to the center. Journey is one aspect of life. Your journey towards the center begins with birth. Journey alone is not the way. Outside the circumference is the realm of chaos, disharmony, pain, and suffering. And in that realm you are being pulled by the gravitational pull of earthly elements of your being. What are the earthly elements of your being? The sense organs, organs of perception and organs of actions, mind, and all these things are pulling you. Here, in that realm, you are being pulled by the gravitational pull of earthly elements of your being, through which being interacts. You interact in the outer world of objects and beings through organs of perception that brings the sensations to you, be it taste, be it touch, be it sight, be it hearing, and then a response comes through the organs of actions. These bring pain, various stages, pain and pleasure. When you reach the circumference, you enter a new pull. This pull emanates from the center that exists in seed form since birth. It is the pull of grace or pull of bliss. At the circumference now two pulls are working simultaneously. One from outside, the pull of the worldly elements, your basic instincts, and the other is from within. This creates a state of limbo in you. You are in a state of limbo. This is the moment where one has to enter into meditativeness. For the first time, something beyond imagination begins to happen. You are at a Duffery threshold. You feel intoxicated. A voice is calling you from within, from the center. An awakened one calls you from this place, the center. He encourages you coaxes you to move within, but you are in your deep slumber. Just as this happened this morning, my iPhone decided to sleep a little longer. Whole night it goes on singing, trying to wake him up, and he doesn't want to wake up. I had to do whatever tricks I know how to wake him up. Did it. So I lost hope that this morning it may not wake up to support me. Then all of a sudden it did on its own. At least realize the responsibility that it owes a lot to humanity, and they depend on him. Depend on him, I say. The iPhone is a living. So from the shore, the awakened one keeps on calling you. He encourages you. He encourages you, coaxes you to move within. He is not letting you to continue this journey on your own. You have continued, you have journeyed for too long. The channel from circumference to the center is part dark and part light. Fear and indecision grips you as you stand on the shore from where a new journey is to begin. You are standing at the circumference. Fear and indecision grips you as you stand on the circumference, waiting to take the first step towards the new journey. This is a very delicate moment. Your trust and love will lead you along the journey from circumference to the center. A delicate moment you are. Your trust and love will lead you along the journey to the center. In the absence, you can delay temporarily or outrightly delay the journey. All is within your hands. The awakened one keeps on giving you a call. But it is in your hand. All is within your hand. It is only when you reach to the center the journey of lives completes. The journey of pain, the journey of chaos comes to an end. Only when you reach to the center of being. Then the journey of pain, the journey of chaos comes to an end. You have arrived home. You rest here. Just as every day you leave your home to go out to work, you have to face the sun, the rain, and many other things. And when you return home, you would like to reach to your bedroom, which is your center. There you can relax in your own way. There is total freedom. You can rest, you can stay as you wish. You have no obligations, no etiquette. Nothing is there in your bedroom as your center. You can stay there totally naked. You can remain dressed. You can sit anyhow you wish to do. And you are totally relaxed, at ease. This is the quality when you reach to the center. No obligations, no restrictions, no commitment, no obligations, no etiquette. You are totally at ease with yourself completely for the moment cut off from the outer environment, and you are rejoicing. It is only when you reach to your home, you leave everything, the living room, the study, the kitchen, the dining room, all the areas you leave far behind, and you reach to your bedroom, the center of the cyclone. And when you reach there, you can rejoice, you can relax as you wish. No botheration, no restriction of any kind. It is when you reach to the center, the journey of life comes to an end. Journey of pain, journey of chaos comes to an end. You have arrived home, you rest here. From this place, the center, you interact in the outer world of objects and beings. Normally what you do, you operate in the outer world of objects and beings from this circumference, where you are operating through the earthly elements of body, mind, intellect, ego sense, and these are all guided by organs of perception and organs of action, 5 organs of action and 5 organs of perception. Then the 5 basic elements of which your body is made of, the earth, the fire, the water, the ether, and then they have their subtle elements also. So Kabir says man is 20. 5 organs of action, 5 organs of perception, 5 essential elemental elements, and then the 5 subtle elements, tanmatra. And amidst all these, you are 21 plus 1. That does not form the part of this 20. That is beyond the 20. That is beyond the 20. And that is your center where you have to reach. The journey of lives comes to an end in a flash, in a moment. But the effort takes a longer time. Journey of pain, journey of chaos comes to an end. You have arrived home. An awakened one operates from his. Many times the people who are in a high authority, they operate from their home. They do not have to go to their workplace to continue. We have the mechanism now. I am operating, I am interacting with you from my home. From my studio, I am operating and connecting with you, and you are connecting also with me from your studio. So I am not interacting from the circumference. Whatever thoughts, whatever words are spoken, they are coming from that center, that oneness. That is the ultimate destiny of each one of you. It is from this place, the center, you interact in the outer world of objects and beings, and there is nothing else but bliss overflows. There is no tiredness of any kind. This place is the resting place of the awakened ones. When I speak to you, when I interact with you, or whatsoever be my way of interaction, I emerged only from that center. I come out to speak to you. You are sleepy. You wake up to have your tea. Then you take a nap again. You wake up, you had lunch or dinner, you go back to sleep. From that center. For whatever time the awakened one has to emerge, he emerges, interacts with you. Only when I emerge from that space that you find me, otherwise you can never find my traces. My resting place remains hidden from human cognition. The resting place of the awakened one remains hidden from human cognition. When I see you trying to approach the circumference, you are trying to reach to the circumference, I rush to the circumference and wait to take you with me on the voyage from circumference to the center. When I see you, this is what Sufis say, when the disciple is ready, the master appears. Now you are ready, I hold your hand and take you with me. Come with me. When someone comes and rings the call bell, you go to the gate to see who is there. Depending on the person that is there, you hold his hand, and he may be afraid of the dogs that are there. Holding the hands of that person, you bring him to the center. I rush to the circumference and wait to take you with me to the center. But then something else happens. And what happens? I return empty-handed. I return empty-handed. Then I wait. In the process, I may not be around. Then you have to wait again for how long? Nobody knows. Nothing can be said. You have to begin the journey once again. And thus, lives after lives, you continue this journey from circumference to the center. My role is to break the journey. My role is to break the journey and bring you to the center. Bring you to the circumference so that your journey can begin. To begin this journey, the meditator enters into his mind and starts watching. How does the mind functions? Just the very fact of watching the mind makes him aware that he is not the mind. Then you realize, you start watching the thought process, you realize that you are not the thoughts. Thoughts are, you are the sky, you are the space, you are the canvas on which the colors are being dabbed. Just the very fact of watching the mind makes you aware that you are not the mind, and he is not anything that belongs to the mind. Mano buddhi hankar chittaninaham. I am neither the mind nor intellect nor mano buddhi hankar, ego sense, nor the storehouse of the memory. I am none of these. He is far away entity, qualitatively different, just a pure watching. In other words, just a pure mirror that only reflects that which comes in front of it, but is not imprinted by any reality. If the ugly face comes in front of the mirror, mirror makes no distinction and it simply reflects the ugly face. If a good-looking face comes in, it reflects that. If the ugly face comes in front of it without any prejudice, without any judgment, it shows the ugly face in its full details, without any condemnation. And when the beautiful face appears, there too, with no appreciations, no evaluation either, it reflects that. There is no appreciation, there is no evaluation either. It shows the ugly face and the beautiful face with the same detached, far away, reflecting witness. The moment you become a witness, there will be no need to leave your ego outside the gate. The moment you become aware, you need not leave the ego outside the gate. In fact, ego leaves you then. Even if you run after it, you cannot catch hold of it. So the right process has to be understood. Ego is not something like your umbrella or your shoes or your raincoat that you have to leave outside the gate. Ego is hidden inside your mind. Hidden inside your mind, of course, you cannot leave your head outside. Ego comes along wherever you go. Wherever you go, I feel hurt. And you very rejoicely, that person gets me upset. When the person said this to me, I felt really hurt. And really hurt, emphasis is on really. But and you consider yourself to be a meditator, a worshipper? Do you know what are you saying? This is all the outcome of ego. Ego is hidden inside your mind. Of course, you cannot leave your head outside, and ego comes along wherever you go. Ego has to be understood. And in that very understanding, it disappears. You have to know what forms the part of ego. The moment a slight hitch that I didn't like that, ego has come in. The moment you think or you say or thought appears, that person makes me hurt. What he said, I felt really hurt. Ego has set in. But you do not understand the tricks of ego. If you are a part of one synergistic harmony, many times it happens you are pounding a nail, you are holding the nail with one hand, and with the other hand you use hammer to pound on the nail. The hammer by mistake hits the thumb of the nail, the thumb of the hand that is being used to hold the nail. Does your left hand feels embarrassed for that? Does your left hand complains because the left and the right hand both are the part of one synergistic harmony that you are? It's like the two children of the mother, they fight with one another. Mother cannot take the side of the one and the other. She consoles the two. She says, that's your brother. And your brother is not against you, he loves you. No, he doesn't love me. Yes, he loves you. And you remind him many times oh yes, I know that he loves me really. You are changing the whole gestalt. Completely you are changing the gestalt. And the moment you realize that your hand and the feet are part of one synergistic harmony in the same way, there is a power within that knows beyond our knowings. We are not aliens nor as strangers joined. We are bound to each other by a causeless force. You and I are not separate. Two bodies pulsating with the same energy. Two persons sitting in one room, sitting on the couch, a spouse, two sitting on the one couch, holding hands. All of a sudden, an argument erupts. What goes on? Don't touch me. No, you don't touch me. You are sitting next to one another, touching one another, you separate. No, don't touch me at all. But you forget you are sitting on the same couch. The seat is one. A part of the seat is touching you, and suppose if there was an electric current, The electric current, the invisible current is flowing through the seat of this living room set, and both of you are sitting on it. You are occupying a space which is filled by the air that you have exhaled, and the other is inhaling the same air. And whatever the other exhales, you are inhaling. So what is the difference? Difference is only because of the mind. Don't touch me. You make me hurt all the time. You say things like these. You always say sorry and then you do the same thing again. Don't touch me. Fools. I am already touching you. You are sitting on the ground. Your feet is on the ground. My feet is also on the ground. The tiles or the floor, the area where that is occupied by your feet and the one that is occupied by my feet is part of one synergistic harmony. Through this, you can come closer. And the moment it happens, you realize that you understand ego, how does it slips into your mind and how you are in its grip. How you get into the grips of ego and then you complain. In that understanding it disappears. It is not like your umbrella, you leave it there, it comes with you, it is a part of your own functioning of the mind. As you function through your mind in the world of objects and beings, that creates ego. That creates a sense of division. Ego is the sense of division, that I am the Robinson Crusoe, the only person on the island, nobody bothers about me, nobody cares for me, I am all alone. And then, what can I say to you? Only in that understanding the ego vanishes. Only a witness knows that ego is a false entity, and you need not fight with any false entity that does not exist. Only an understanding is necessary. Do you ever fight with darkness? I have heard a wrestler, he used to fight with darkness. Do you ever find darkness in your room? Do you struggle with it? Do you throw it outside like you throw your garbage? Do you wrestle with it? Do you start taking out your sword to cut off the head of the darkness? Or if you do such stupid things, you will simply show your unintelligence. You will not be able to even touch it. The darkness that is in your room, you cannot throw it out into the neighbor's yard, because darkness is not tangible. Darkness is not tangible. With the negative, nothing can be done directly. Remember this. Darkness is absence of light. This is negative. And there is nothing that you can do with the negative directly. If you want to do anything with the negative, do it indirectly. Do something for the positive. What is the positive? Bring the light into it and the matter is done. Bringing the light into the dark room is positive. You cannot bring your garbage bag. You cannot bring your broom or mop or whatsoever it is to wipe out the darkness from there. It is not tangible. When you do not want darkness in the room, what you do? You do not walk with your mop and broom and all, vacuum cleaner and all those things. You simply bring the light. That is what intelligence calls for. You bring the light into it. Do you bother about darkness? Your whole approach is totally different. You bring light in, and the moment light is brought in, you cannot find darkness anywhere. The moment awareness comes in, the ego you cannot find anywhere. It is only in the dark moments that you will find. The same is true about your ego. It has no existence of its own. Absolutely no existence of its own. It's a false substitute that has been given to you that you can go on and on playing with it and completely forget the search for the real self. And that is what had happened to you. And the demands of this false ego are immense. It is never fulfilled. It will demand money. It will demand respect. It will demand power. And you go on fulfilling it. But it always remains empty. Wanting this after that is fulfilled. You cannot make an egoistic contented. You give him $1, I wanted $2. You give him $2, but in $2, what can I get it? You simply gave me $2, I want $5. That goes on, it never feels contented. Ego is always like an open wound that goes on. Like you have seen an abscess that keeps on oozing. Ego is the wound, open wound that goes on growing bigger and bigger and remains oozing always. And what it oozes? The putrefied substance that goes on accumulating, goes on growing within. It goes on growing bigger and bigger and remains oozing always. The more you try to fill it, the more you find it is empty, the more demanding it becomes. You become almost a slave to a false entity. Your whole life is wasted in ambitions. Ambitions created by ego. All ambitions are created by ego, and entire life is wasted on it. The ego is the most dangerous invention that society has managed to create, just as plastic. Hindus say the soul, water cannot cut it, weapons cannot cleave it, cut it, the fire cannot burn it, the air cannot dry it. Nanam chindanti shastrani nanam dahati pavaka. Na chainam kledayanti apona soshayati maruta. Neither the wind can dry it, nor the weapons can cut it, nor fire can burn it, nor water can moisten it. And man created a parallel soul. And what is that parallel soul? Is plastic. It cannot be destroyed. It remains accumulated at the base of the oceans and makes the water and everything contaminated. Ego is the most, in the same way, ego is the most dangerous invention that society has managed to create. So when you want to drop, never think in terms of dropping it, because even the word drop gives you an idea that it is something. It is nothing in reality. You cannot drop it, you cannot put it out of the doors. You have to look into the reality of it. In deep meditations, you have to become a witness to all the functioning of the mind, because ego is the combined byproduct of your mind's functioning. Ego is the combined byproduct of your mind's functioning. The way your mind functions, what comes out of that functioning is the byproduct of the mind. It is known as ego. Your mind's functioning, its thoughts, its desires, its ideologies, its prejudices, its politics, its philosophy, its religion, Everything contributes in some way or the other to create a certain amount of ego in you, a certain quality of ego in you. Politics has a different quality of ego. Religion creates another quality of ego. Philosophy creates another. Prejudices create another kind of ego. Philosophy, ideologies, desires, thoughts all create a different quality of ego. I remember Osho mentioning about one of his professors in this regard. I would like to put it in his own words, the words of Osho. I had a professor, Dr. Das, a very famous professor, philosopher, not only in India but in almost every country, every university. He had been teaching around the world, and he had come back to India, to his home, just to retire. He was my teacher for only 3 months. After those 3 months, he went into retirement, and those 3 months were of great revelation to me and to him as well. First day when he entered the classroom, I was sitting in the chair. He looked so embarrassed, standing by my side, and I was so relaxed in the chair. The students started laughing, and he said, what is going on? He did not stood up. I said, nothing is going on. I find this chair is most comfortable than other chairs, and I am not a stupid person. I can choose what is right for me and what is not. He said, you seem to be a very strange person. This chair is meant for the teacher, the professor, and you are sitting on the chair that is meant for the professor. Imagine, kind of courage he had. He said, you seem to be a very strange person. This chair is for the teacher. I said, then there is no problem. I will teach. What is the problem? If this chair is for the teacher, then teacher is sitting in it. You can find some other chair and sit down. Osho telling to the professor who was world-renowned, who goes on lecturing in many universities throughout the world. He was an old man, a world-famous philosopher, and his ego was immensely hurt just by that. He said, you do not understand with whom you are talking. An outcome of ego. You do not understand with whom you are talking. I said, I understand perfectly well. You do not understand with whom you are talking. Dr. Das said, you do not know whom you are talking to. And Osho in return said, I understand perfectly well, but you do not understand with whom you are talking. But I did not leave the chair. I told him that whatever you want to do, you can do it. He can go to the Vice Chancellor. He can bring the Vice Chancellor here. I am going to remain sitting in this chair. He said, what is the purpose of all this mess? I said, the purpose is to show you that it is not my sitting in the chair that is hurting you. It is your ego that is hurting you. If you accept it, that it is your ego is hurting you, I will leave the chair. If you do not accept, then you can bring anyone to help you. But as far as I know, the students, nobody is going to help you. He waited for a minute. There was utter silence in the class. Everybody was afraid that if the Vice Chancellor came and the proctor came, there was going to be trouble for him. they would immediately expel me. I had already been expelled from so many places, but I always continued to do strange things that nobody dares to do. What was the need to sit in his chair in the first place? But Dr. Das was certainly a man of great intelligence. He did not go out. Instead, he said, perhaps you are right. Perhaps you are right. It is my ego that is hurting. It is not the question of chair. It was his intelligence, he realized it. I said then, I can leave it. I remember before you retire, you have only 3 months more in this university. It will be good if you retire. Do not take your ego away with you. Leave it here in this chair for somebody else to use it. I left the chair. He was in such confusion that he told the students, today it will not be possible for me to teach. And he said to me, I would like you to come to my home. And he said to me, I would like you to come to my home. I want to discuss some important matter with you. This is a very important conversation. He was an unmarried person. He had written many beautiful books, and before encountering him, I had read everything that he had written. He took me in his car to his home. On the way, he said, I am sorry that I did not understand your purpose. When an awakened one says something, you do not understand his purpose. He took me in his car to his home. On the way, he said, I am sorry. I did not understand your purpose. You are the first man in my life who was pointing out my ego. Everyone nourishes and nurtures your ego. When an awakened one points out to your ego, you lament. You do not understand. Many times it happens. When I am interacting with someone, I am trying to reach to that point where the abscess is forming the pus inside. When to squeeze it. The moment I squeeze, ego gets hurt. The pus comes out. Then I have to do the dressing. And the moment the dressing is done, at least for some time it works. He said, I am sorry I did not understand your purpose. You are the first man in my life who has pointed out my ego. I certainly have a big ego, and it went on becoming bigger and bigger as I became more and more respected in the world of philosophy. You will have to help me to get rid of it. His honesty, you have to help me to get rid of it. I am also feeling the torture of it. I am also feeling the burden of it, but I do not know what to do with it. He had never thought about meditation. Philosophers never meditate. Their whole life, whole approach is intellectual. They think about everything but never become a witness to any experience. Thinking about something forms the part of intellect, and witnessing about something forms the part of awakening. A philosopher never becomes a witness to any experience, particularly the experience of their inner thought process. You never become a witness to your inner thought process. If you really want to get rid of ego, you will have to go deep into your meditations, that you can create a distance between you and your mind, you and your thought process. Immediately you will realize that ego is false, and the moment you have seen it, it is dropped. Not that you drop it, instead, in your very seeing it, penetratively, in that understanding, in that witnessing, the ego drops by itself. Mind and ego. Watching the mind, ego drops. That's all. I am not needed anymore. Ego is dropped. So long then to you. Until tomorrow, take care.